Welcome back to another exciting episode of Everything But the Lesson Plan. I am your host, Franchesca Thompson, and I am thrilled to kick off season 8 with a fascinating conversation about using TED Talks as a powerful tool for classroom engagement. Today, we are joined by the incredible Jacqui Chew, a TED Talker, TEDx Atlanta licensee, and entrepreneur. She will share her insights into TED Talks and ways educators can incorporate them to spark curiosity. Jacqui, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You are kicking off season 8 of Everything But the Lesson Plan. And I think this is just in time because school is right around the corner. So we need to know about TED Talks.
Absolutely, and you're right. It is almost that time of the year. It's all almost back to school. I can't believe how quickly the summer has gone.
I know, I know. I have to head on back in another 3 more weeks, but I am definitely enjoying my summer. So I know planning is going to be coming up for teachers. So first of all, just tell me your history with TEDx Atlanta.
My history with TEDx Atlanta started in 2009.
Oh.
I was one of the founding members of another TEDx group called TEDx Peachtree.
Mhm.
At the time in 2009, there were two TEDx groups here in Atlanta proper. And it was the very first year in which there were TEDx events. There were two of those. I was part of TEDx Peachtree. Those two organizations eventually merged
Okay.
in 2018 and became TEDx Atlanta. The team that was TEDx Peachtree transitioned into the team that is now TEDx Atlanta. And as you well know, all TEDx's are all volunteer affairs. They are community organizations, community driven events. So everyone on the team is a volunteer.
Mhm.
And in terms of my history of the evolution with the organization, I started off as the founding marketing director, and then in very quickly in the early 2010s, I became the organizer licensee, and I am today the organizer and licensee of TEDx Atlanta.
Well, I love it. A long history, and definitely an expert. And so I'm glad that you're here to share with us today. I actually met you through TEDx Atlanta. I volunteered, I don't know how many years ago, but it was the best experience I had ever had. And it makes me, I got to get back involved. But I just thank you for inviting me those years ago and letting me be a part of the team for sure.
You were an absolute delight, Francesca. There is always a spot for you whenever you want to return.
I'm coming. So let's get into it. This is for teachers, and so I want to kick it off with you sharing your perspectives on the of storytelling and how TED Talks have revolutionized the way stories are told in educational settings.
Storytelling is near and dear to my heart.
Mhm.
Most people don't know that I got my degree in theater management, and
Oh,
more specifically, the management of Southeast Asian theater, very, very specific, at the University of Hawaii.
wow, didn't know that.
And very, very few people do. And so throughout history, storytelling has been a crucial mechanism in which people transmit culture across generations.
Mhm.
It's a way of preserving history and values and traditions. It's a way to shape cultural identity, transmit values and beliefs, and also, most importantly, especially today, build community and connection. So, just as there are different modalities of storytelling, so puppet theater in Southeast Asia, which is what I studied pretty extensively at
Mhm.
the University of Hawaii, hula in Hawaii, which is a dance form, poetry slams, and then, of course, the the ancient oral storytelling amongst indigenous peoples. These are all different modalities of storytelling and culture building, if you would. So
Mhm.
TED Talks are no more than a modern form of storytelling. They are very effective because they are snackable bites of
Yeah.
information in 8 to 10 minutes, which is as much as this lovely TikTok generation can can tolerate at this point in terms of knowledge.
You're right.
And just as a fun fact, uh, as of April 2025, 7,088 TED Talks have been published on TED.com.
Wow.
But
Really?
but wait, there's more.
Okay.
Almost 50,000 TEDx talks from 10,000 TEDx events
Wow.
have been published over the course of 2009 till now.
Wow.
Think about that. That's a lot of talks.
Yeah, a strong organization. Okay. Definitely a
So,
strong organization.
so invariably, because of the ubiquity of talks, and because these talks are curated to an inch of their lives,
Mhm.
they have become a way for educators, in many cases from universities all the way to middle school, to use and incorporate into their lesson plans
Mhm.
to capture the attention and mind share of the students in their classrooms.
Yeah, and it's a very powerful tool to use if you know how to use it. So, TED Talks has become really a go-to resource for educators seeking to engage their students, like you said, that 8-minute attention span, right? So, from your experience, what do you think makes TED Talks so effective in capturing students' attention and stimulating critical thinking?
Well, first off, there is the science.
Mhm.
I am a huge believer, even though I'm a storyteller, there is science behind the storytelling. And cognitive science tells us that we as humans remember information embedded in a narrative
Mhm.
more than if that information was just put in front of us as isolated facts. So imagine if I told you a story about Harriet Tubman,
Mhm.
or I took you on the adventures of Alexander the Great and all the lands that he conquered, or the history of ancient Egypt as told from Cleopatra's eyes. These are all individuals in history, and when those are being taught in from the eyes and the stories of these individuals, the numbers, the dates, the events are going to be the facts that are embedded in the story.
Yeah.
And therefore, science says they will stick in
Mm.
our brains a lot easier than just reciting dates, places, events. So
Yeah.
that's how that works. Very much a science thing. The second part about why they are so effective is because every TED Talk, every TEDx talk is passionately conveyed.
Yes.
Every single you would be hard pressed to find a TED or TEDx talk in which the speaker sounds disinterested
Mm-hmm.
in what they're saying.
That's right.
And so it's the passion that keeps our attention.
Mm-hmm.
And in every talk, there is something different. There's always a twist that makes the talk memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And and then finally, the length, 8 to 10 minutes. That is about as long as our attention span will allow us to stay put and to focus.
Yeah.
So those three things are why these talks are so effective in keeping the attention of students in the classroom. Now, the other piece of it is most of these talks are conveyed and delivered in language that is easily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be a talk about quantum physics or superconductors, but it is conveyed in terms that you and I, as non physicists,
Mm-hmm.
could understand.
You're
And
right.
that is what makes it so compelling and so valuable in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
The final bit is many of these talks are accompanied with visuals. So you would very rarely ever see a talk that had PowerPoints with bullets. The visuals serve to reinforce
Mm-hmm.
the story, to reinforce the facts being conveyed and being shared. And that's really important. So it mimics what students are ingesting outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
So what is a reel? What is a story on social media? These are visuals accompanied by sound to tell a story
Mm-hmm.
in little bite-sized snackable chunks. And so hence that's why it's so effective.
You're right, because I think about my go-to TED talk is Sir Ken Robinson. He did one. Uh, it was about schools and does schools kill creativity? And from that one TED talk led me on a journey to just kind of research some more, figure out what was going on in my community. And I actually ended up starting my own nonprofit called Inventors Club for kids to just come and make things, be builders, dreamers, doers, and just no limitations to that. And it all stemmed from that TED Talk from Sir Ken Robinson many, many, many years ago. Rest in peace now. But he was definitely instrumental to what I had did back in 2000, I want to say.
And it is stunning that everyone that I encounter who is either in the community, actively in the TED or TEDx community, or like yourself,
Mhm,
I would, we describe someone like you as a TEDx adjacent. So
mhm.
you were a part of the community, you will always be a part of the community, but now you are ingesting the content, appreciating it, but pursuing your own goals and your own adventure. So you're adjacent. Every single one of us or you that I have encountered has a moment like this.
Yeah.
It's sort of a TED moment, if you would,
Mhm.
that somehow sparked the journey or set you off on a journey. It's a very common story and it's really cool. We
Yeah.
call that a TED moment.
I had my TED moment. I did.
Totally get it. I totally get it. So that's cool.
Yes. So, as a storyteller, do you believe teachers can use TED Talks to create meaningful discussions and encourage students to reflect on their own world?
I think that teachers would be totally missing out if they didn't take advantage of the free resource. Totally missing out. And I totally highly encourage teachers. Now, my sister-in-law is a teacher. She is a high school Spanish teacher.
Okay.
And I hear all about the paperwork, the mountains of paperwork and the lesson planning and the meetings, in
Yeah.
addition to, well, she there are running family about it that I will not share in this
Yeah.
recording. But she has so little time
Yeah.
to actually do the thing that she went to school and has like two master's degree for, that I think that she uses TED Talks
Mm.
in her lessons, in her classroom. And I think that some of the ways that are most that talks are used most often,
Yeah.
is teachers use them to spark discussion.
Hmm.
So I know teachers who assign the talk as homework, free homework before the classroom,
Hmm.
and then as part of a literature. It's a literature class. This is literally an example. So I'm not going to go into the specific piece of literature for the talk, but generally it was a talk that had an adjacent relationship to the book, which was a romance, a love story of sorts, historical in nature, and it helped to offer the students a different perspective
Hmm.
on love,
Oh, wow.
on on romantic love and what it was. And the talk was a scientific study of love.
Yeah.
So it was a really neat juxtaposition of perspectives on love that the students could were exposed to, one from the book, the other from the video, that
Mhm.
they could discuss at length, and they could discuss the character developments in the book in that context, which gave the discussion a lot more richness and robustness. So that's an example. Another example would be, so for an for a discussion or around, say, stereotypes
Yeah.
and perspectives. The this talk, which is very, very popular, you probably have seen it. It's the uh, I'm going to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
Oh, you look, I've seen it. Now, I cannot say that, but I've seen it. Her
Practice.
name, you did really good with her name, ma'am.
And her talk on the danger of a single story
Yes.
is a very popular talk used by multiple teachers and educators that I know of at different grades
Hmm.
to approach this somewhat difficult and complex topic of stereotypes and perspectives.
Yeah.
And the so another example, so I'm giving you three. This third and last example would be, so for a physics class, so we're just going to change gears a little bit and talk about science. So for physics class, Boaz Alma's 2012 talk at TED Global,
Hmm.
and I was in the room, which is why it will always stick with me. Talks that I've seen in person always stick with me a lot longer. He did a stunning demonstration of quantum superconductors,
Yeah.
and it was a stunning example of how physics is nonlinear.
Hmm.
So we think of physics, or we think of science, as binary, ones and zeros. If this, then that. This talk would, for physics class, if the teacher wanted to open new avenues to quantum physics, for example, this could be a talk to spark that conversation. And who knows, uh, perhaps spark the interest of someone in the class that could go on to become the first person to be able to build buildings on Mars, which
Yeah.
is, the next frontier.
Yeah.
If if you've been keeping up on the space race at all, that's the next frontier. So those are some ways to spark discussion. To also, I have found that TED Talks, even with adults, are
Hmm.
very useful in helping to hone the comprehension skills.
Hmm.
So we at TEDx Atlanta, when during our planning meetings, we do start our meetings with, what was the last talk you watched, and what did you think, what was the perspective, and what's your opinion on it?
Yeah. I love that. That's
And
implemented in the classroom.
yes, yes. So that very much stimulates critical thinking skills, if you would. And I think that, especially for students who are non-traditional learners,
Yeah.
they might be visual learners, they might be audio learners. This using these kinds of aids would be very beneficial as an augmentation mechanism.
Yeah. And I love the just I'm in my head, spinning. I'm like, oh, TED Talk Fridays. Students can the homework before Friday, Thursday night, they look at a TED Talk and they come in and they share with the class on Friday. So I'm just thinking all of these things on how we could implement it. But you definitely made it clear there's something for every single subject. The database that you guys have is so large that every class could find something that they could relate to for sure.
Yes, yes.
So you also said that well, there is a TED platform for teachers. Can you give me a little bit of information about that?
Sure, sure, yes. So if your listeners are interested, the the URL is ed.ted.com. And this is a whole different genre of videos. So teachers can actually participate in this. So these are videos that are animated videos of specific topics. So there are videos on civil rights movement, McCarthyism, and so on and so forth. Bees, pollination, anything that you can think of, they most likely have an animated short of the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And how this could be used is as a hook.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you are a history teacher and you are teaching perhaps the American Civil War, for example. This is that's the next kind of module. I would bet you that there would be appropriate videos on TED Ed that you can find that you can have the class watch together and use as a way to capture their attention. These videos are literally 3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
They are animations. They're like explainer videos.
I think that that's something that the teachers would love using, and they can embed it into something they're already teaching. So I am going to put that link in the podcast description so people can have access to that, because that's perfect timing as we get ready for for our next school year. So thank you for sharing that for sure.
No problem. I have one last little factoid about TED Ed,
Mhm.
actually two, and I'm going to drop the link
Oh,
in
perfect.
chat. And okay, so two last things about TED Ed. One, if you're a teacher and you cannot find what you want in there,
Hmm.
you can scroll all the way down and suggest
Oh.
and suggest it's like submitting your idea for a talk. And if your suggestion is accepted, the global community of creators that create these animations will take it up and create it for you.
Are you serious?
Gratis. Yes, serious.
Wow. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know that.
it's insane. I know, it's completely insane. And and uh and then the last bit is for teachers who are teaching communications
Hmm.
and want to educators who are teaching that they have an event type called TED Ed events
Hmm.
where students, like these are TED Ed clubs where students get to develop their TED Talks.
Oh, okay. And so
Yes.
that's all on the TED site.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
There,
That's
yes.
great to know. Definitely something that we can look at. I'm thinking like that's good for like after school clubs. We got a lot of
Yes.
public speaking clubs and just things like that that we can attach that with. And I mean, some schools have TED Talk clubs, so we don't at our school just yet, but we're looking into something like that for sure. So
Fantastic.
great. Yeah, great,
Well,
great talk today.
awesome.
Yeah, so now tell me what's next for you and how can people find you?
Okay. Well, this summer has been incredibly busy on the TEDx Atlanta front as well as on my professional front. I will give you all both. For the professional front, I have, in addition to my consulting practice of helping technology entrepreneurs with get their companies launched. And I have introduced two different services, and they are related to storytelling. No surprise there.
Yeah.
One is a investor storytelling, so storytelling by founders to investors,
Hmm.
and getting and helping the companies be investor ready. So it's a lot more than just telling your story. In order to tell a good story, you have to have your facts all
Yeah.
in a
Together.
row. So
Yeah.
there's that piece. Then on the TEDx Atlanta front, on the storytelling front, oh, not stories, I'm so sorry. As you well know, TEDx Atlanta is a program under the umbrella of a nonprofit called Ideas into Action.
Hmm.
And that is a Georgia registered nonprofit. So we have begun planning events to the public under Ideas into Action.
Oh.
And so for more information about that, go to TEDxAtlanta.com and sign up for the emails at the bottom of the page.
Hmm.
Uh, and then finally, the last piece of information, if you sign up, and soon, we have two things happening. We will have a social
Okay.
August 14th. More details will be shared on social media, on TEDx Atlanta's
Mhm.
social media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Okay.
This will be free to everyone. We will also be recording 1 minute videos. So people who want to speak at our conference have to submit a 1 minute video.
Mhm.
We will be doing those recordings gratis at the social.
And what is the video about that they're recording?
So they're recording in 1 minute their idea and why we should pick their idea
Oh, okay.
for the main stage event in 2026 April.
Okay.
The so so that's the social on August 14th. And then this year we are also going to participate again in the Southeast Pollinator Census.
Oh.
Yes, it is a initiative by the University of Georgia.
Go
It is
dogs.
go dogs, yeah. It is happening in multiple states in the Southeast,
Hmm.
and it is a project, an initiative that you and I and everyone else, and especially teachers and students, for those who have summer, summer classes, summer camp, uh, they can participate. It is going to be and it will all happen over 2 days simultaneously in all the states in the Southeast. Essentially, it's going to counting the pollinators in designated gardens.
Really? I want my
Yes,
child to be a part of that.
yes. And would you like to know why that's important and how the data is used?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to tell you. So the data collected
Hmm.
is uploaded to a cloud at the University of Georgia, and the data is used to determine the population and therefore health of pollinators,
Wow.
which you and I know are the basis for half the food that we eat
Hmm.
on, in our meals, as well as planning where to create places for pollinators to thrive.
Yeah. Oh.
Uh, it also has implications because the healthier the pollinator population, the better our crops
Hmm.
are going to be, which, as you know, Georgia does have a significant agricultural industry, and therefore the health of our pollinators are directly related to the health of that industry.
Yeah, that's good. You get into so many cool things, Jackie. I'm jealous. Okay. I want to be a part.
The thing is, the wonderful thing is everyone can come to our pollinator adventure. That's what we're calling it. You just show up. It's 3 hour 2 hours, I believe.
Mhm.
It's a clipboard. You bring sunscreen, a hat, a t-shirt, mosquito repellent, and off you go.
Okay, I'm going to talk to my youngest and see if we are going to be a part this year. And you said all of that is on the website. We can find
It
it.
it will be on the website. So
Oh,
sign
okay.
up for the social media, follow us on social media, and we will be sure to amplify that as soon as we have all the facts in
Perfect.
a row.
Wow. Well, that's a good way to end. And I just really appreciate you for coming on today and sharing your knowledge.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it's clear that TED Talks can be an invaluable resource for engaging students and enhancing classroom experiences. I'm sure our listeners are eager to explore new ways to use TED Talks in their teaching practice. Get out there and start exploring. Jacqui has given us a wealth of knowledge today. So, for all of you tuning in, be sure to subscribe to Everything But to the Lesson Plan and stay tuned for more thought provoking episodes. Until next time, take care and keep thriving.